We're putting the band back together.
The numbers all go to 11.
I'm talking about bands that rock. Led Zeppelin. What about Sabbath? AC/DC. Motorhead.
Does that mean it's louder? Is it any louder?
Well, it's one louder, isn't it?
We're not worthy! We're not worthy!
Why don't you just make 10 louder and make 10 be the top number and make that a little louder?
These go to 11.
I get up off the ground and raise my head. Days like this, think I should be dead. One for Satan, two for me. Let's cheat the devil, it's fun, don't you agree?
Welcome to the Nothing Shocking Podcast. I'm your co-host, Jeff Untied, and with me in the Dog Bowl Studios is my co-host,
Coach Nez.
You can find the Nothing Shocking Podcast on Libsyn or any pod catchers. You can find us on Facebook or Twitter at No Shock Pod.
You can also find the Nothing Shocking Podcast on Rock Rage Radio every Tuesday evening at 10 p.m. Central Time. We would like to thank Bob Zerl for his intro technical contributions. We'd also like to thank Ragged Records, our sponsor, located in Rock Island, Illinois, and soon to be coming back to downtown Davenport, Iowa. We'd also like to thank the Hong Kong Sleepover for their music for our intro and bumper ending. And tonight's guest is
Tony Scalzo of Fastball.
Yes, what an interesting interview that was. He had a lot of really interesting stories to share. If you are unfamiliar with Fastball, they had a big hit back in the late 90s, The Way, correct?
Yep. And Fire Escape.
And Fire Escape, that's right.
And they got a new album 2019 called The Help Machine.
Yes, and we were a little delayed on that one. Back when we were doing the podcast last year, he was scheduled to come on, but things happened, and we just had to delay this interview. But still, a great interview nonetheless.
All right.
So as far as music news, we really don't have any, do we?
No, I mean, Alice Cooper just recently put out a little promo about it. He's got a new album coming out in February, so I'm a little excited about that one.
Yep.
And I was supposed to go see him when he was going to come here back to the Adler Theater back pre-COVID, I think back March or April. And then it got canceled to November, and then it got canceled indefinitely. So,
have you seen Alice live before?
Yes, I have at the iWireless.
Okay, yeah. So I've seen him 3 times.
Yeah, I wanted to see him in a small venue, so I was really looking forward to that.
Absolutely. Well, my purchase of the week was a band called Velocity, and the album is called Impact. I kind of stumbled across them on, I believe it was, I work out in the mornings, and I always have YouTube videos on my phone to make time go by. And you know how when you watch music videos of certain genre, and they'll give you kind of like, hey, you might like this or you might like that. And I saw that and I clicked on it. I was like, wow, this is really good. This is a great 80s band. I clicked on it. The album release was 1998 or something like that. But anyway, they were kind of a throwback for 1998. Great stuff. Great hard rock. It's definitely a classic hard rock band from that 80s sound. If you have not heard Velocity yet, check them out. That album is fantastic. So
I took on what I'm searching for. The band's called Quartz. So speaking of having stuff come across your video feed or on Facebook of, hey, here's the top 10 heavy metal albums that you never heard of or something.
Yes.
And so I clicked on. I just happened to click on it to scroll through, and there was a band called Quartz, and their first album was like 1970. I think it was recorded in 77, 78, but didn't get released till like 1980. And it had Jeff Nichols from
Jeff Nichols, Black Sabbath,
and the Brian May Band.
Yep.
And he was the keyboardist in that band, and then Ozzy Osbourne apparently sang backup vocals on a song, and then there was a non-album track that Brian May played guitar on, and Tony Iommi was the producer.
Oh, cool!
So I listened to it on after seeing that. I had to go check it out, so I played it on YouTube, and I was like, oh, this is really awesome. I got to get this. So it's in my search list.
Yeah, because that Black Sabbath family tree, all those branches off that tree is massive. It's kind of like the Deep Purple tree. So many different bands and artists have spawned off of those bands that the tree just keeps growing. So cool, man.
Yeah.
So, enough of that. Let's get to our interview with Tony Scalzo of Fastball.
Good night.
Good night. Welcome to the Nothing Shocking podcast. In our studio, we have Tony Scalzo of Fastball with us and my co-host, Jeff Unteed.
How's it going, Tony?
Good. Hey, thanks for having me on here, guys.
Fantastic. So I know during this time of COVID-19 trials and tribulations, what have you been doing to kind of keep yourself busy right now?
Well, I could start in March and give you the chronological rundown, but let's get a little bit more esoteric and talk about, wow, what a learning curve.
Yeah.
Like, how do you figure out what to do when you're, my career got set into a pattern that I wasn't fully aware of even.
Mm-hmm.
We're not the busiest band in the world, but we were very busy in the 90s and the early 2000s. And then, we were always busy, though. I mean, we never really, stopped doing anything for more than even, a month,
Mm-hmm.
And if we were separated for longer than that, we were probably working on our own projects. So, once you can't do any of that and it's not laid out for you, it was interesting. I'm glad to say that I am lucky enough to be, secure enough to not have to wonder where I'm going to earn any money.
Mm-hmm.
I have enough to, literally, not work if I don't want to work.
Nice.
I will have to stop doing certain things that I enjoy doing.
Yeah.
But I have lots of responsibilities. I got a little kid and got some other kids in college age, and so mainly my discovery has been hanging out with my family. Like in a yellow submarine, you know what I mean? It's like we're in suburban Austin, Texas, and we got a nice, little house on a lot, just like, most people, I guess. But it's, it's not the best neighborhood in the world, so I don't like to walk around really that much. I was starting to do it for a long time, so I was walking for months, up to August, and then it just got kind of boring, and I didn't want to see anybody, and I just kind of and it's kind of trashed out, people throw trash. But anyway. What do I do at home? I got to work on music and I got to keep myself occupied.
Mm-hmm.
So I really early on, around April, I decided I was going to buy some new studio gear because I have lots of stuff, but it's kind of obsolete. And I decided I'd get myself a new MacBook Pro so I can devote it to recording. And I got a little, interface. And I already have, the instruments and everything, but I got a microphone, a really nice mic, and just decided to start working on demos like I normally would, except now that I have this open-ended time,
mm-hmm.
It's been really great because I'm able to sit and let things ruminate or let them steep a little, let the ideas sort of ferment, and, I've ended up changing some things in songs, but it's there's no deadlines, there's no pressure, and I'm very happy to say that the creative output remains, I love that. Maybe it's just out of the necessity to be busy. And I take breaks, sometimes I don't do it, I don't write specifically write songs, but I'm always playing music and I'm always laying down some kind of idea. And then sometimes I have a period where, for a week or two, I'll be pumping out some songs. And right now, I'm actually not writing a song, but I'm building a fence in the backyard because
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
they're building giant houses behind us right now, 2 of them. And so I decided to put some 8-foot pickets between us and them.
Nice. A little bit about
We have
your
chickens. It's good for them. I mean, they don't want to smell what we have back there. We have like 8 chickens, and there's going to be flies in the summer, and I think that 8-foot barrier is going to be very, very good for both parties.
Excellent. Jeff, go ahead.
Speaking about your songwriting process, can you elaborate a little bit for us on how that works? Do you come up with the melodies first, or lyrics first, or how does it work for you?
Right. Well, a lot of times it is a melody. It's like a melody that might be a little part of a song. And then the job is trying to fit it in somewhere and trying to find a place for it. And that can end up being just an endless chase. And so there are lots of parts that are laying around, little tunable melodies. But if they're strong enough, I've found that they don't go away. So, they'll keep popping up, and sometimes they're strong enough to actually write a song with, turn it into a song. And then I find that the best method for me is to go to work, just go to work every day. And, you get blessed when you apply yourself. It's a lucky man who goes to work.
Yeah, absolutely. In these times,
you got to open up for the luck to come in, or for the creative juices, or the muse, or whatever. And so sometimes they come very quickly, and you don't even know. Was it the chords? Was it the was it the melody, or was it just the words? You don't know, because it happens so naturally and so quickly. Sometimes it's literally all three,
Mm-hmm.
figuratively, like a braided rope.
I want to go back to 2019. Help Machine is the latest album from Fastball. You had released 3 singles: The Girl You Pretend to Be, Help Machine, and All Gone Fuzzy. Can you give our listeners an insight to the writing process of that album? Was it any different at all from Fastball albums of the past?
The only different that I can point out would be just a better ability to work separately and work together. Miles and I working on stuff together and help develop these songs together. Also, some of them were not completely, finished by the time we got in the studio with Steve Berlin, the producer. So we did a bit of pre-production where you go into our room and work it out for maybe 3 or 4 days and get everything nailed down so you can come in and do the arrangements that are going to actually get laid down. So I needed Miles and Steve to kind of help me finish up a couple of tunes. Girl You Pretended to Be was already intact, and for the most part, All Gone Fuzzy was intact, but it just needed to be it was already knit together, but it needed to be, secured. It just needed to be wrapped up and have every part solid. So we were able to do that in the studio without too much fuss. I cannot speak for Help Machine because it's Miles' song, and I didn't really have I had very little to do with the composition of the song. As far as the recording of it, I think I'm not even sure what I play, frankly. I think I might do some kind of keyboard thing or maybe a guitar thing, but that's one where I'm very, very scantily featured.
Excellent. Go ahead, Jeff.
The song White Collar, I'm still a fan of promotional videos growing up as a child from the MTV days.
Well.
I saw the video for that one. Can you talk about that one?
Sure. Especially when we were just the last thing we were talking about was what do you do during COVID?
Yeah.
Well, what do you do? That's funny. I already had a little plan to do a video with a friend of mine named Alex Chod, and he has made a few videos for some local bands in town in Austin. I liked what he did, so I was like, hey man, nobody else was really doing anything about it. Like the band, it wasn't really let's make a video. It wasn't anything. I figured, Miles had a video made from an excellent director in Poland, and that became the Help Machine video, which is animated. So, you can do these are the first videos that don't feature us, as a band, like performing and whatnot. I know I am, for some reason, ironically, because we're in, COVID times, I am ironically featured in the video for White Collar, but only at the end. And it was really great because we had a plan to do it, but we got sideswiped by the pandemic, and it kind of like dropped off of our table, and I wasn't thinking about it for a while, but then I got the thing rolling again with Alex via, text messages, basically, email and text messages throughout the day. I would hit him up, every couple of weeks and go, so what's going on with the video? And he's like, oh, I'm just trying to round up these things, these props and things, since you've seen it, right? It's all, yeah. Okay, well, I'll explain briefly for everybody that it's a semi-animated video that features action figures and, basically toys,
like in a stop
for
motion.
Props and scenery. Yeah. It's not really, I don't think there's any real stop motion in it. They're mainly stills doing a sort of 3D Ken Burns effect.
Yeah.
And just with a lot of green screen stuff and background stuff and CGI backgrounds, like the church. There's a big cathedral, right, where he's sort of, walking on air towards this priest, and it's like in a big cathedral. And I think that I remember Alex saying that was the most labor-intensive aspect of shooting the video. But then he hit me up and said, listen, can you do like a performance of yourself, maybe dressed up like a choir director or a preacher? And I was like, sure. I was like, let's go. So I ordered a choir robe from a choir robe supplier, and it cost $20, and it's like this beautiful red robe. And so I get that, and I get a green screen, which I bought. I think that whole rig cost me about $40, and set up a green screen in my living room, put my iPhone 11 on, and he told me the specifications with which to shoot on my iPhone, and I put it on a clip, a microphone clip on a mic stand, and aimed it at the spot, marked the spot where my feet were going to go. And I just basically had my son turn it on and off. And we did a bunch of takes. And as we did the takes, I was able to show him the takes by sending him, PDF, or not PDFs, but JPEGs of the footage. And he goes, well, shoot another one, and shoot another one from this angle, and then move the light. And then, so in a couple hours we had all that footage, and he took from that. And my image is featured on the monitors inside the security booth of the prison, where our main character is in residence.
Nice.
Very cool.
Is that like a throwback to the Way video where you guys are kind of you're standing in front of the store? I think the storefront, and you go looking at the TV monitors.
Listen, I can't really tell you what any of that was about. I've tried. I haven't spoken to McGee. Well, I mean, he's a very successful filmmaker, and I haven't spoken to him since I think I ran into him last at a Sugar Ray concert at USC in like 2001. Right?
Yeah.
That was an amazing night. I'll just say, and this is just a name drop and just prove my clickhood in the club of notoriety. I was hanging out with obviously Mark McGrath and McGee. And McGee and Mark McGrath, they went to school together out in Laguna Beach, Newport Beach, California, actually, Newport, Corona del Mar. So they knew each other from way back, and I'd known both of them from way back before any of us got any real success. And also, Jason Schwartzman happened to be there hanging out with us, and we were all just talking about how, oh no, he was there because his band, Phantom Planet, was playing. That's right. Okay, so that was just like a little Hollywood moment.
Yeah.
I just wanted to throw that in because that's all part of the thing.
Absolutely. I want to kind of go back to the writing process. As the question is, how do you compare the writing of yours and Miles in Fastball of the now in comparison to the writings that you did when the band was in the late 90s? How do you compare your I guess maybe the maturity of the two?
Right. I can't really speak for Miles specifically, but I know that he's sort of progressed in the same rate, really, at the same rate as I have. I mean, we've been doing it the same amount of time and the same degree of consistency. So I assume that, he would say the same, but for the most part, we've developed editors. And those editors get more and more strict and more, what's a good word? I can't think. Just more able to say, that's crap, throw it away. Or, yeah, that's really strong. Don't feel weird about that. Go with it. That's a big part, too, is like a lot of times younger songwriters will, they'll dump ideas that may have come in a flash because they feel funny about it. Or, a lot of times I hear stuff that I did years ago that I, at the time, didn't like very much, and now I hear it, and I go, wow, that's pretty cool, actually. I mean, I'm glad I put that out, even though I may not have liked to perform it live at the time that it was out there. I would say, yeah, just more sophisticated, older. Also, I would say it's not just a question of editing. It's also like, where do your ideas come from? And I think it's only natural that with experience you have more opportunity for ideas to come up, and everything you experience is an opportunity to write about or communicate or talk about. And the trick is to have your poetry in order, your ability to nail it down to concise phrases and verbal ideas.
Back in 2017, the band performed a living room concert to assist the Hurricane Harvey relief. I know there's a really cool story behind this. So can you give our listeners a little detail to the story about how that all came about for you guys?
I'm sorry. Could you repeat the first part of that? I don't recognize the show.
Back in 2017, Fastball performed a living room concert to assist Hurricane Harvey relief.
Yeah, in Los Angeles.
Yes.
Okay, I can tell you about that. It's actually one of those serendipitous moments where you just are able to kill two birds with one stone. Three birds, like literally three birds were killed. No, not literally. Okay, so we were able to take care of three tasks in one instance, in one event. We were on tour off the West Coast. We had 2 days off in Los Angeles. We were able to play our show at the Whiskey, and the next day, through the streets of West Hollywood, film some of one video, which was Best Friend, right?
Mm-hmm.
With Nigel Dick out in the streets of LA with just like, me basically helping him carry some stuff and then shooting Joey walking lost through the streets of LA. And then we went out to the beach where all three of us were out doing that. And then the shoot culminates at the end with a party scene. So we go over to this guy's house and we do this comedian guy. He had been wanting us to play at his house forever and do a house concert, but it just, it wasn't in the cards at the time. So we were able to, while on tour, play a house concert for a benefit, which he basically did a lot of the organization for that. This guy, I'm sorry, his name is I can't remember it at this point. Right? So he's going to kill me too, but whatever. I'll survive. And but it was a great situation because we were able to do it all. We were able to play a little concert. He was able to get people there and also benefit Harvey Relief. And we were able to shoot our video. Our videos actually ends in his backyard and in his living room where we're playing for a bunch of people. This is all before the party, right? We did the video stuff all during the day, and then in the evening, that's when all the guests came over, and it got really crowded, and it was a really crazy party at the end. It was really fun.
Oh, so cool. Yeah. Go ahead, Jeff.
Back to Austin a little bit. How's the music scene? Well, pre-pandemic, how was the music scene in Austin? I know I went there on vacation several years ago, and it was pretty cool. I'm actually back when I was in college, and
right.
Some buddies and I were walking up and down going to see live bands and stuff. It was pretty cool.
Well, that's how it was.
Yeah,
that's how it was in March. On March 11th. We played our last live gig, and that was down, basically South Congress, outdoor gig, live on the radio, one of those weekly things they do on the radio here, and it's really fun, and I've done maybe 6 of them at this point, but I swear to God, I'm not lying to you, this was one of the funnest shows we'd ever done, and I think there was about 300 or 400 people in this sort of courtyard area, and everybody was fist bumping at that point and elbow bumping, and we were all talking about it, kind of joking about it, and it was really nice night, early spring, and people are out, man. They were out in droves. There was probably 100 shows going on that very night.
Mm-hmm.
And it's no joke. I mean, it's not an overstatement that Austin is where you would go if you wanted to see any kind of music you could think of, any given time. And that's the way it has been, and it's even, become more of that in the present. But, once we found out, I remember I went out for drinks with my daughter and her boyfriend, and they said that the NBA season was canceled. And that's when we're like, okay, looks like we're going home for about a year. And well, see you later. And it's been really a trip since. And I have a bit of survivor's guilt because I've like I said at the top, I'm fortunate enough to be able to survive without having to go play my gigs. Having said that, I lost a pretty good chunk of change this year that I was counting on, but we've managed to be creative, and when I say creative, I mean that artistically with the band. We finally figured out a way to get together, and I want to do more of these, but and you'll see in a couple of weeks we'll have a live concert that we videoed last week here in Austin at 310 ACL Live. We did a club where we play normally here in town. We set up the video screens. We were able to play our videos behind us while we were playing our songs, and we play basically a whole set. It's been getting mixed right now because we wanted it to sound really good, even though it's live. It was a live, performed live. We wanted to get all the instruments, to the right levels and make it sound really killer. And the guy who mixed our record, Charlie Kramsky, is the mix engineer and the recording engineer for this production, and it'll be ready, I would say, in about 2 weeks. I don't know exactly when it's going to hit our YouTube channel and our website, but it'll be up there, and I want to do more of this kind of thing. I think
that sounds cool.
We were going to do a live concert at Cedar Park HEB Center, which is normally a big arena where, like, Goo Goo Dolls play or something, or somebody like bigger. And they since COVID, they've had these concert series where they set up a stage in the parking lot and you can drive up and they have it all mapped out and everybody's got to stay in their little piece of real estate, right? Well, we didn't really, we wanted to do it. We wanted to try it. We wanted to see if it's feasible. Everclear did it like 2 weeks before we were supposed to do it, but it just wasn't meant to be, and I didn't think that it was going to do that great anyway. So we decided to try for some other time, maybe, on that. So it just wasn't meant to be, right? Mm-hmm. So we ended up doing this thing instead, and I think that I want to continue doing that. Like, nobody, playing for nobody, but playing for everybody. Mm-hmm. As much as I like people, I mean, I don't miss too much, really. I can concentrate a lot more when there's not people yelling at me. People yell at me when I play. They do. They try to talk to me. I'm everybody's pal, and it's a little bit distracting sometimes. But the focus is definitely on the music when we're doing this kind of thing. And I did another one with my other band. That's how I knew I could do it with Fastball. I have this band called Renfro, and we got together after not playing for like two and a half years, and we got up and did this thing at a friend's property out in the middle of nowhere. He built this stage, and he's got a production team that's able to videotape the set, and he's got good sound, and he's got a recording engineer who's in, dig this, the front of house console is in the cockpit of a Winnebago.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I even took a picture. I wish maybe I'll text it to you. Okay.
Excellent.
But it's funny, man. He had the board right there, right in the dashboard, and he had the captain's chair, and talk back mic and everything. How you guys doing? You got monitors? It was amazing.
That's cool.
So we did that. I mean, there's literally 10 people.
Yeah.
And then and 4 in the band, but 10 people. And we did that, and my band Renfro, that's on my personal Tony Scalzo YouTube channel. You can check that out if you are curious as to what I do when I'm not in Fastball. Those are all different songs. They're not necessarily Fastball songs at all. They're songs I do with that I wrote, and also songs that my friend Kevin McKinney wrote. And we were a band for 4 years, and we played every week in Austin at Strange Brew, which is now closed.
Yeah.
Speaking back again about the town and its effects on the band, like on bands and musicians, it's devastating.
Yeah.
It's no joke, man. Half the people that that are under the age of 40 in this town are they're literally bartenders, servers, food servers, or they're musicians. And we are the ones that made this town popular. We are the ones who made this town the town that everybody wants to come and live at. And now nobody's got a job. Mm-hmm. Nobody's got any real. People are selling their stuff. People are moving away. Yeah. People are, these are the worst cases, right? But, people they're figuring out ways to do it, but it's not easy, man. They're doing a lot of live streaming. They're doing, I hesitated to do that, and I want to talk about this real quick. I know we've been talking for a long time, but Miles has been doing a consistent live streaming situation on his own, and I think that's great. And I'm very grateful that he's doing that and keeping his thing alive. And I always feel good when I know everybody's like concentrating on music and also doing their own thing. I didn't really want to do that. I didn't feel like I wanted to get up and just take requests and play acoustic on my little, laptop. He actually made it pretty good after a while. He got a really good mic, but I just didn't want to do that every week. I didn't want to do that kind of deal. Well, so instead, I worked on writing. I worked on this video, which actually ended up consuming a lot of my attention, which was fun because I'd never really, I'd worked on lots and lots and lots of videos. Don't get me wrong. It's like I know what's going on for the most part, but it's the first time I actually had a real hand in, let's do it this way. Or I don't like that, take that out, or can you make that blue? That kind of thing, I was actually co-directing, and I really got off on that. And I think that Fastball is going to continue to work with people. I think that's going to be the key to our, staying fresh and staying viable artistically, is to bring in other elements, other personalities to be creative with. That includes audio stuff and production and working on records and. Nice. But I like the video thing, and I like the live performance video thing too. I'd really like to get into a scene where we're doing that really well.
Yeah.
Right now, I'd say we're total novices, but I can see. I've seen other people do it in the past, and like some bands got lucky, some bands had good connections, but I saw this thing the Shins did maybe about 6 years ago, and it was just in this concrete room, and they were performing live, and they did a whole set. There's no audience. They just do the thing, and lots of different camera angles, and you can go down. They have shots of people's hands, and I miss that, After the 80s, music video became this stupid pantomime thing, and you don't know what's going on, musically. But back in the 70s, when you saw concert footage, the people who directed those live concert footage movies, and like The Song Remains the Same, and the Maisley Brothers, and all those, the Jimi Hendrix stuff, and they knew what they were doing, and consequently, the viewer could sort of learn something about music and learn something about what was going on. And I think that's something that's been untapped for a very long time, and I'd love to see that kind of thing come back. And I see it coming back with a lot of bands are taking on the challenge of mimicking maybe their favorite bands, and I got no disrespect for that, especially if you can nail it. I saw a band the other day from New York. I think they're called something Brooklyn Swingers or something like that. Anyway, they do Steely Dan covers, and they totally kill it. It's like perfect, except maybe the voice doesn't sound like the guy's voice. But it's the instruments and the parts are uncanny, and that's great. But I mean, let's see some fresh music by original artists doing great things. And, don't be so worried about those people in the front row. Play your music. I might be boring, but I mean, somehow I get a kick out of that. Obviously, we've all had an opportunity to watch more YouTube videos and old stuff that we miss and we haven't seen in a long time. And now we have the opportunity to see things. Could you imagine if this pandemic happened in like 1977? We'd be fucked. We would be totally fucked. We would be like, there's no TV shows because nobody's making TV shows, and there's nothing. There was nothing. Well, I guess we'd be reading books,
or watching
to the library,
watching syndicated episodes of MASH or something like that.
Well, Land of the Giants, or like, oh no, here it's season 2 of Star Trek.
I do want to kind of touch upon. It's like more of a contrast and comparison. Austin, from us, what we know of or what we hear of from us is Austin is more of a culture, a musical culture, opposed to being necessarily a scene. Rock and roll, lost a stronghold, scenes in the Sunset Strip of L.A. It also lost CBGBs and Max's Kansas City and New York. And opposed to, the Austin being the culture in the Sunset Strip and the CBGBs and the Max's Kansas Cities being the scene. Do you ever foresee a scene popping up again in an isolated area like those areas that I just spoke about? Or, because I really feel like from what I hear from everybody else is that Austin is the culture. But is there ever going to be a scene again?
Well, I don't know, because I'm 56. I don't know. How do I know? We're talking, there's no scene without youth. It has to be built by young people. It does. I mean, old people aren't going to go to a fucking show every night of the week and, go to their friends' shows. I mean, we already know we don't go to our friends' shows, so, I mean, it's just not going to happen. It's generational, and if something happens, we probably wouldn't like it. Or, who knows, we would. But, I mean, rock and roll's not really rock and roll anymore. Rock and roll is stuff that I think that, it's for kids. And it's not the same thing. There's bands, sure, that where kids learn how to play guitars and, but things change. And I think that if something emerges, it may not be the kind of thing that we imagine that we're talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, the last of that stuff came and went. Let's just do a timeline of rock and roll. Okay, Elvis Presley, Boom Boom, Little Richard, Chuck Berry, blah blah blah. They sort of crash and burn. Elvis goes to frickin' the army. Jerry Lee Lewis, a wash in alcohol or something, right? Mm-hmm. and then he ends up becoming a country performer. But he had a scandal and he couldn't really do anything in the United States because of the stupid scandal. And then there's, this lull, and it's all these teen idols. So teen idols are doing their thing and crooning, and then all of a sudden the Beatles come at us full force in '64, and then every band's like a Beatle band. And then as the Beatles evolve, other bands, that was a scene, okay, because the Beatles not only influenced other artists, they were influenced by all the artists that were around that was breaking. Thank God the Beatles were very progressive. They're the beginning of progressive rock, let's face it. I mean, granted, Pink Floyd was there while the Beatles were a band. Even Yes was a band while the Beatles were a band. But that's where you see the music going in a more expansive and a more cinematic and a more three-dimensional direction. And all the pop songs are going by the wayside. But then that gets so fucking bloated and so ridiculously untenable because only the most sophisticated musicians can do it. Then here comes punk rock. 3 chords and the truth, right? Blah, blah, blah. Million bands become punk rocks. And then it's like, then there's even like revolution from that because nobody doesn't really want to be unsuccessful, right? How many double negatives did I put into that? But my point is, everybody really wants to be successful. There's only a few people that have these principles where they don't want to sell out or whatnot, right? People will do a remarkable amount of insanely crappy things for money, So every scene comes and goes and dies. And you know what? I spent a lot of time, I spent a lot of time in my youth, age 15 to about age 23 in Southern California rock and roll. Sunset Strip, I was there, man. I was there in the punk times, and then I was there in the hair band times. And then, I was sort of in the nooks and crannies of all that stuff, like the Paisley Underground, like the sort of psychedelic, the 60s revival bands, the underground garage scene. And it got to where scenes came and went to the point where some people would just like get on drugs and disappear, right? So, a scene has to have energy, but they're always like this sort of just a blast, man. It's like a solar flare. And what about the Seattle thing? Yeah. Seattle, I mean, I don't think it's that big of a music town like it was then. I know it is. It's definitely got music there, but it's not 1992 anymore. No. And Austin, what is Austin? I mean, I could write a book. I've read many by friends from here about Austin. And I think I can speak with some authority at this point because I've lived here since the summer of '93. And I show up in Austin and I immediately find 100 friends. And everybody's a musician. And if they're not a musician, they're girlfriends of musicians. They're like the business owners who took care of all the musicians. They're, the club owners, the bookers. And it was a really great time then. And it got better, and it got better and better and better. And then it just blew up. And then then it's like, what the fuck's going on here? I don't even know. Yeah, I mean, so I went away for a couple of years here and there. And I come back and things change. You look up and everything's changed. Now I don't even know who's on. Okay, listen, I'll be blunt. I'll be honest. When ACL comes to town now, I know maybe the headliner and maybe like the third or fourth line. Right? But I don't know any of the other acts. And I try really hard. I try to pay attention to new things. Billboard sends me Billboard magazines all the time, and I don't know what I'm looking at. I don't know what I'm looking at. So, my time for for predicting cultural movements is way over, I think.
Yeah.
At the same time, I know what I want to do, and I think that's the beauty of being, an artist. And I think that my partners in Fastball would agree that it's about what we can do and what we want to do, and let's do what we want to do, and not be limited by whatever preconceived notions we've, grown up with, and other people's opinions and all that stuff. And we've been sort of that mind for the last 5 years, and we've been fairly prolific as a result. And we've done some amazing things. We've been around the world, and back in 2018 summer, we played a gig in Turkey, and we played in Germany, and we played in London, and we played in Spain. We did a whole tour of Spain, which was, just killer, and want to do all that stuff again. It's kind of sad, but I'm glad we were able to squeeze in some world travel before this happened. Just before COVID hit, we were getting ready to do a tour with Everclear in the spring.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we're hoping that some of those dates will, be replaced in the future, and we'll be able to do something again. But who knows where we're at this point. I feel like we've been talking for a long time.
Yeah.
I have.
Yeah, we took a lot of your time.
I love it. As you can tell, you actually caught me on a good night, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah. My last throwball, or I guess not a curveball question, but just I know there's a lot of artists in Austin, Texas, so this is kind of, I guess, more of a long shot question. So when I was in college back in the 90s, one of my favorite college bands from northern Iowa, when they broke up, the lead singer went down to Austin, Texas to do singing, songwriting stuff. George DeVore and the Rome. Have you heard
I know
of them?
George. Yeah, I know
Awesome.
George.
Yeah.
Small world.
I had to ask. I would have been mad at myself if I didn't ask.
Yeah, I've known him for a long time. I haven't seen him for a while, but yeah.
I was so disappointed. I went down there for work one time for training, and I'm following him, and it's like he plays every Wednesday night at the Saxon Pub, and then I get down there. I get down there, and he was on vacation that week, and I didn't get to see him.
That sucks. Yeah, he was working at Momo's when I was playing there every week, and also he was playing a little bit with Paula Nelson in maybe about 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Good times, yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Absolutely. Well, we are out of questions for you for the night, and we want to thank you so much for your participation. Is there anything that you would like to plug or promote before we let you go?
There's one thing happening on the 14th. We are doing a benefit concert, and we've already done it, but it's going to air on Sunday during the day. I think you'll have to go to stepsoffaith.com or thundergong.com. Thundergong, that's Gong. It is a show set up by my friend Billy Brimblecon and his good friend Jason Sudeikis, and it features a bunch of great talent. You can go onto Facebook and just look at Thundergong, and you'll see it. Big poster, huge lineup. I'm not even going to get into it. It's just huge. You won't believe it. It's world-class comedians and musical acts, and the benefit is for Steps of Faith, like I said, and that is an organization that provides prosthetic limbs for people who can't afford it, or don't have insurance, or don't have a fixed address, maybe. So it's a good cause, and it's a really great show, and I think they've done 5 of these in the past, so it's turning into a pretty big thing, and everybody's just kind of bummed that they couldn't make it to perform in person. They have it up in Kansas City.
Yeah, we'll put a plug for that on our Facebook page.
Yeah, most definitely. So
Thank you.
yeah, absolutely. So you're great. If you ever want to come back on the podcast for anything else, please let us know. We'd love to have you back on. We want to thank you for being our special guest tonight, and good luck in the future.
Well, thank you guys. Same to you, and have a good night. Okay.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good night.
All right. Bye.
We'd like to take this time to wish all our listeners a happy Thanksgiving, and thank you for listening to the Nothing Shocking podcast. Hopefully you're enjoying the show. Until next time, stay safe.
You can have